Hello students and welcome back to the video lecture series of software engineering. Today's topic is project scheduling and tracking. I am your instructor Ms. Shruti Rawat. So let us start with today's lecture. The first is project scheduling. Now what do you mean by project scheduling? Basically, software project scheduling is an action that distributes the estimated effort across the planning of project duration by allocating the efforts to specific software engineering tasks, right? So basically, in simple words, what is project scheduling? Project scheduling is the actual duration of the project, and you are bifurcating that duration by assigning specific duration to specific tasks, right? Now, there are some basic principles of scheduling. Let us study what are those. The first is compartmentalization. What do you mean by compartmentalization? Now we have a whole lot of activities that are going on in our software project. The first thing that you need to do while deciding the project schedule is you have to divide this whole lot of activities into manageable tasks and activities, right? You know what do you mean by WBS, that is work breakdown structure. So we have to divide these activities into manageable activities, right? We know that there are 5 basic framework activities. In framework activities also we have different actions and tasks that we do. You have to divide this. That is known as compartmentalization. The next important principle of scheduling is interdependency. Now there are some tasks that may work in parallel, that is not dependent on any other task, right? And there are some tasks which has to follow a series or sequential flow, right? So you have to first determine which are the tasks which can go parallelly and which are the tasks which are interdependent on each other. So that is the next principle of project scheduling. The next principle is time allocation. You have to assign a start date and end date to every task, right? So also that task may be full-time or it may be part-time allocation, but you have to assign a start date and end date. The next is effort validation. Now what do you mean by effort validation? Effort validation, it means you have to decide the number of people in a team. Okay. The next is defined responsibility. We know that a particular task will be done by a particular person. Also in effort validation, we know what are the number of people in our team. So you have to decide what task will be assigned to whom, right? To which people. So that is defined responsibility. Defined outcome. That means what are the different work product after completion of the task. Okay, so it means if you are completing this 5 tasks, what is the work product after this? And the last is defined milestone. After you get a work product and after you review the quality of that work product, is it satisfactory? Are we achieving a milestone or not? Right. So what is a milestone? Milestone is nothing but it is simply reviewing a work product for quality that we have achieved after completion of series of tasks, right? So these were the basic principles of project scheduling. Now in project scheduling, what are the steps that a project manager takes? The first thing that project manager does is he or she identifies all the tasks that has to be completed in our project. The next is, as we have studied, compartmentalization. Work breakdown structure is created. That is, all the large tasks are divided into small activities and small tasks. The next is, yes, the dependency is determined, that whether these two tasks can run parallelly or they can run sequentially. The next is they establish the estimation of completion of particular activities. The resource allocation is done. Human resource allocation is done. You have to plan the start date as well as end date for various activities. The next is critical path is determined. We will shortly study what do you mean by critical path. But here just if I give an overview, it is the chain of activity giving you the overall duration of a project, right? So, and in general, effort distribution has a general guideline of 40-20-40 rule. Now what is this 40-20-40 rule? they are telling that 40% or more of all the effort you have to give to analysis and design tasks, 20% you have to give to the programming task, and remaining 40% you have to give to testing part, right? Normally when we are in college, we give so much importance to programming and coding that we totally forget the analysis part and the testing part. But generally in software industry, as you can see, this is the general rule. How much of the portion is dedicated to programming? Only 20% of the total effort is dedicated to programming. 40% to analysis, 40% to testing. So you may understand from this that analysis and testing are more important than the coding itself, right? So this was all the tasks that a project manager has to do if he or she has to determine the actual project schedule. Now there are different techniques in which you can show the project schedule. One of them is the timeline chart, or you can say the Gantt chart. Now what do you mean by a Gantt chart? Gantt chart is commonly used in project management and is one of the most popular and useful ways of showing the activities. Activities means all the tasks and the events displayed against time. Now this is a chart, so there is a left hand side and there is a top, right, there is a right hand side, right? So on the left hand side of the chart is a list of activities, and along the top you have a suitable time scale. Now this time scale may vary from you can say company to company, project to project, project manager to project manager. It may be in months, it may be in weeks, it may be yearly, right? So this is a suitable time scale that a project manager has to decide according to the company and project policy, and each activity is represented by a bar. Now this bar basically determines the position and length of the whole duration of the activity, right? So you can know from this bar that what is the start date of the activity, what is the actual duration in which this activity will commence in the project, and what is the end date of the activity, right? So let us see what all things can you get from a simple Gantt chart. So this Gantt chart allows you to see at a glance when each activity begins and ends. So clearly you get an idea what is the start date of the activity, what is the end date of the activity, right? The next thing that you get in Gantt chart is what are the activities, because we have already discussed that the left hand side of the chart is solely dedicated to the activity description. So you will get an idea that what is the work breakdown structure of your project, that is what are the activities. The next is how long each activity is scheduled to last. There is a particular duration for every activity to last, right? So that duration, obviously, because there is a bar, there is a start date, there is an end date, so you can see that what is the actual duration of every activity. Also you may see the overlapping of activities, right? Because there will be certain activities which are running parallelly. So you will get an idea that which activities overlap in time with each other, right? And you can also see the sequential activities, that what are the activities which does not overlap, that means they run sequentially. Also you may get an idea or an estimation of the overall project duration, that is what is the start date of the project and what is the end date of the project, that is a whole project. So these are the things that can be determined using a Gantt chart, right? Now let us see an example of Gantt chart. So here you can see this is just an example of a specific Gantt chart. You may design it in your own way, but let us see what this Gantt chart does. So here you can see there is a left hand side in which there is a whole breakdown structure. It means you have a whole lot of activities which are divided. So you have on-site meetings, you have designing, you have development, you have testing. So these are the basic, you can say, activities which are written in bold. Then the basic activities or the basic framework activities are further divided into different small action and tasks. So here you can see in designing also you have different activities like design database, software design. interface design, other design specification, etc. Right? So these are the subset of which framework activity? Design activity, right? So they are written in a bit tabbed view and that are not in bold letters, so that you can distinguish between the actual framework activity and the subset activity, right? So this is how you write the whole activities in the left hand side. The next thing you can see, these are the bars, right? But what are the bars representing? The duration of each activity. Now you can see this is a duration. You have the whole January month and we have divided the duration in weeks, right? So for example, you can see that database design is starting somewhere over here, right? In the January, and it is ending over here, right? So this is the start date of database design and this is the end date. So this is the start and end date of a particular framework activity design. So that is determined by this symbol. This is somewhat different type of symbol in a bar, whereas all the sub activities of these framework activities are determined by this shape, right? So you know that software design is a subset of this particular design. So we have different color code. We have green color for designing, we have orange color for development, we have blue color for testing. We have a different symbol for the framework activity as well as we have different symbol for the sub activity, so that we can distinguish that these are the sub activity and this is a framework activity. All the sub activities duration is actually the subset of the framework activities duration, obviously. So here you can see that these two activities run sequentially. When this activity is completed, after that this activity starts. Now you may wonder that, ma'am, this is whole filled with a same color, dark green, whereas here there is dark plus light green. Why so? Because we have still not completed this activity. This dark green indicates that what is the actual state of the activity, where are we in this activity, and yet we have to complete this activity, right? Here is the end date of this activity. Also you can see that in the designing as well as the development, there are certain activities that overlap each other. It means they run parallelly. So here you can see this activity is starting in designing. Similarly, at the same time in development also this activity is starting. It means this designing and development is running parallelly, right? So from this you can get an idea the overall duration of the project. This is a half Gantt chart. I cannot put the whole Gantt chart over here, right? It is very big, right? So just by looking at this Gantt chart, you can get an idea that on the left hand side there is the whole lot of activities which are divided. On the top side you have the duration, the activities actual status is represented by the bar. The bar has been color coded according to the different framework activities. In the framework activities, the framework activity and the sub activities are distinguished by the different symbols. Okay. Also we can get an idea of the sequential activities as well as the parallel activities. So this is a simple example of Gantt chart. So if you want to determine, if you want to show the project schedule, this is one of the methodology. This is also known as a timeline chart. Now the next methodology in which you can determine the critical path is critical path method, right? So we have told what do you mean by critical path. Critical path is the overall duration of your project. Basically it is the longest path in your project, and if any activity delays in critical path, it will delay your actual or estimated project schedule. Okay, that we will see shortly how. So what do you mean by critical path method? Critical path method is a project modeling technique that's used by project managers to find the important deadlines and deliver the project on time. In a project, the critical path is the longest distance between the start and the finish, including all the tasks and their duration. Now, once a critical path is determined, you will have a clear picture of the project's actual schedule, right? Now, let us study this critical path method. For studying the critical path method, let us first study what is this table. This is the task that we have determined in our project. Now, it is not, this is a hypothetical situation that we are taking, right? This is not the actual project. In actual project, there will be lot more tasks. Here only there are 7 tasks, right? So these are the 7 tasks that I have determined in my project that has to be completed, right? So T1 is specification. You can see the T1 is specification. The actual duration, that what is the actual duration of specification that it will last, that is 15 days. So specification will last for 15 days. And we have also decided in this table dependency of this task, whether the specification task is dependent on any other task to be completed or not, right? What does dependency mean? Dependency means that your particular task can start only after your dependent task is completed. So here you can see specification is dependent on no other task. So you can start specification whenever you want, right? So also we have given the task numbers. So T1 stands for specification. T2 stands for database design. What is the duration of database design? 45 days. And on what is database design dependent? On T1. So it means that once specification is completed, only then you can start the database design. The next task, T3 task, is design GUI, right? And the duration of design GUI is 30 days. And it is also dependent on T1. So once specification is completed, you can start design GUI. The next is code database, right? So T4 is code database. Code database duration is 105. It is dependent on T2. And what is T2? Design database. So once design database is completed, only then you can start code database. The next is code GUI part. Code GUI part's duration is 45 days. And it is dependent on T3. So what is T3? It is design GUI. So once design GUI is completed, only then you can start the code GUI part. The next T6 is integrate and test. And the actual duration of these both tasks is 120 days, right? And they are dependent on T4 and T5. T4 is code database, T5 is code GUI. So once you have coded the database and once you have coded the GUI part, only then you can start the integration and testing part. Okay. And the last T7 is write user manual. And write user manual, it is estimated for 60 days of duration and it is only dependent on specification, that is T1. So you can start writing user manual as soon as you complete specification, right? Now based on this table, we will generate the earliest start, earliest finished, latest start and latest finish with the slack time, that whole table, right? Now let us see first what is earliest start time, earliest finish time. So here again we are listed down the task, specification, design database, etc., right? Now these are the columns which indicate the things that I have told, that is ES stands for earliest start, EF stands for earliest finish, LS stands for latest start, LF stands for latest finish and ST stands for slack time. Now here we are going to see only earliest start and earliest finish. When we will determine or draw the graph, so here we are going to study only what is earliest start and earliest finish time. LS, LF and slack time we will see later on. So let us study what is earliest start and earliest finish time. So first task is specification. Earliest start time, it means what is the earliest time when you can start this specification. Earliest start time is totally dependent on the dependent task, right? So here you can see specification is not dependent on any task. So you can start specification from day 0. So earliest time, that is earliest start time for starting specification is 0, right? 0th day you can start specification. Earliest finish time is basically you have to add the duration of this particular task in your earliest start time. And what is the duration of getting completed the specification? 15. So 0 plus 15, that is your earliest finish time, that is 15. Okay. Now let us go to the second task, that is design database. Now design database is dependent on which task? It is dependent on T1, that is specification. And specification is completing on which day? 15th day, earliest finish. You have to see 15. So you can start your designing database on 15th day, right? That earliest finish time of the dependent task is the earliest time or start time of design database. So the earliest start time here is 15. Earliest finish, again you have to add the duration of that task into your earliest start time. The duration of the task is 45 days. So 45 plus 15 into design database, that is 60. Right, on 60th day, that is the earliest finish time for designing database. Now let us go to the next task, that is design GUI. Now design GUI is again dependent on which task? T1, and T1's earliest finish time is what? 15. So again designing GUI you can start on which day? Yes, exactly 15. So your earliest start for design GUI is 15, and what will be the earliest finish? Exactly, it will be the duration of design GUI plus the earliest start, that is 15 plus the duration is 30. So 15 plus 30 gives me 45. So earliest finish for your design GUI part will be 45th day. The next is code database. Now code database can be started only when your design database is completed, that is T2 is completed. Now T2 is completed, it means what is the earliest finish of T2? 60. So when can you start coding the database? On the 60th day, right? So coding database ES, that is earliest start is 60 because it is dependent on T2. And what will be the earliest finish for code database? It will be the duration of code database. So here you are adding the code duration. So that gives me earliest finished 165 and so on. So now you are getting an idea that how can we determine earliest start and earliest finish for each of these tasks, right? Now based on this earliest start and earliest finish, we are going to develop a graph, that is CPM representation for earliest start and earliest finish, right? So here you can see the graph. Let us see how have we plotted this. The first task over here is earliest start and earliest finish, that is specification. Now here you can see in specification 0 to 15, it means 0 is the earliest start time, 15 is the earliest finish time, and you can get an idea that what all tasks are started after specification is completed. So there are 3 tasks which are dependent on specification. Which are they? Design database, design GUI and write manual. These are the 3 tasks that are dependent only on T1. Okay, so you can plot directly them parallelly over here. You can see that once your specification is completed, you can parallelly start designing the database, designing the GUI as well as writing the manual, right? Now once design the database is completed, what is the task that commence? Exactly, coding the database, because it is dependent on T2. So these both are sequential, design and code, they are sequential. Similarly, code GUI is started after designing the GUI. So these both are sequential. And after this integrate and test, it is dependent on which task? It is dependent on coding the database as well as coding the GUI part. So arrow comes from both of them because this is not dependent on a single task to be completed. It is dependent on 2 other tasks to be completed, right? So once this both completes, then only you can start integrate and test. Now you may wonder, ma'am, the earliest finish time of this code database is 165 and earliest finish of code GUI is 90. What will be the earliest start? You will have to take the greater of them. You have to take 165 as the earliest start of integrate and test. Here there is a mistake. It is not 162. It should be 165, right? And you know that once you are completing integrate and test and once you are completing writing manual, you are getting finished. On which date? That is 285, right? So that is you are finishing the project. So this is how you have developed this earliest start and earliest finish critical path method representation in a graphical form from this table, right? Now similar to earliest start and earliest finish, we also have latest start and latest finish. But in latest start and latest finish, we are not going to start from specification. Instead, we are going to start from last. That is, we know that earliest start and earliest finish, that is our project is getting completed on which day? 285th day, right? So we will start from here and we will backtrack. So these activity, that is finishing activity, is dependent on which task? Integrate and test and after writing manual. These are the tasks after which your project is getting completed, right? So the earliest start time of this finishing should be equal to the latest finish time of the previous activity. So for integrate and test and for write user manual, what will be the latest finish time? Exactly 285 will be the latest finish time. Now from latest finish time, we will determine what is the latest start time. So you have to subtract the duration of these particular tasks from from the latest finish time. So integrate and test. So you can see in the table that integrate and test duration, what it is, you can minus 8 from 285, you will get the latest start time. Now you know that integrate and test is dependent on which two tasks? It is dependent on core database and it is also dependent on core GUI. So again, the latest start time of these particular tasks becomes the latest finish time of the previous task, right? So for core database and core GUI, what will be the latest finish time? It will be 165. Now for core database, if I want to get the latest start time, the actual duration we know, you have to subtract it from the latest finish time, you will get the latest start time. Similarly for core GUI, you know the duration of core GUI, subtract it from the latest finish time, you will get the latest start time. You know that core database is dependent on design database, so the latest start time of core database will become the latest finish time for design database. Also you know the duration of design database, you have to subtract it, you will get the latest start time, and similarly for this. So now you get an idea, the latest start time and latest finish time can be determined by backtracking. You can also see what is ST. ST is a slack time. Okay, slack time you have here 75 days and 75 days. Now slack time is something in which if you have a slack time for a particular activity. Okay, so here you can see that slack time is nothing but it is also a subtraction, LF minus EF. So latest finish time minus earliest finish time. So here you can see only two activities are there which has slack time. Now what do you mean by slack time, ma'am? It means that if you delay these activities up till 75 days, from earliest finish, if you delay it till 75 days, it is okay, your overall project duration will not suffer. That is known as slack time. Now critical path you have to determine from the activities which does not have slack time. It means the slack time is 0. So here you can see the arrows which are darkened, right? So specification, design database, core database, integrate and test, and finish. So this is the longest path in our project which does not have any slack time, and if we delay any of the activities in this path, that is in critical path, then the overall project duration or schedule will suffer. Only the activity which has the slack time, you may delay it for the slack duration only. Otherwise, if you also delay it further, that is if I have a slack time of 75 and if I delay it for 76 days, so one day my schedule will get extended, right? So this was the critical path method determination for earliest start, earliest finish, and latest start, latest finish. I hope it is clear. The next is PERT, that is path evaluation and review technique. Now what is this? Now instead of single element for a task, because critical path method is also an estimation method, here we are just estimating the schedule. This is also a possibility that the estimation differs from the actual schedule, right? Because real life scenarios, you know that there may be disasters. But instead of estimating only a single value for a particular activity, in PERT, that is path evaluation and review technique, we determine 3 different estimates, right? That is, we have a pessimist approach, we have a most likely approach, and we have an optimistic approach. What do you mean by pessimist approach, likely approach, and optimistic approach? Pessimist approach, it means we are thinking that everything will not go according to the plan. everything will be a disaster and we will have to extend this activity as much as possible, right? So that duration in which we have a pessimist approach is the actual largest duration of the activity. Most likely it means this is the average duration in which we think that there may be some ups and downs, but still this is a manageable time in which we may be able to complete this activity. And the optimistic approach is that everything will go according to the plan, no hurdles will come in the way, and we can get completed this activity in as soon as possible, right? So that is the optimistic approach. So we have 3 estimation, and if we determine the overall path using this 3 estimation, that is 3-point estimation, then the graph that we have plotted is known as path evaluation and review technique, that is PERT. So here you can see we have plotted the same graph for the same task, but instead of only 1 duration, we have 3 duration. For specification, you can see that the most likely is 15 days. In 15 days it will be completed. Pessimist approach, if we follow, specification will be completed in 20 days, and if we follow optimistic approach, it will be completed in 12 days, right? Now, based on PERT, we can have E. So based on PERT, we can have a formula for 3-point estimation, that is we can have a single E. So the formula is E is equal to O plus 4L plus P divided by 6, where O is the value for optimistic approach, L is the value for most likely approach, and P is the value for pessimistic approach. Now let us take this sum. What is the sum? You are a software developer and majorly working on an e-commerce website. Now on your new project, you are pretty sure that the website can be developed in 8 weeks, with the most optimistic estimate being 6 weeks and the worst case scenario 10 weeks, right? Now if you get confused between this, what is pessimist, what is optimist, forget about the words. You just need to focus that optimistic is the smallest value, likely is the middle value, and pessimist is the greatest value. So from that you can get an idea that optimist is the smallest value, it means 6 is optimist, right? 8 is most likely and 10 is pessimist. So you substitute those value in the formula for estimation and you will get a single value, that is 8 weeks, right? So similarly, for every this particular activities, that is specification, design, database, you can follow this formula, you can determine a single E, right? That will be a more accurate estimation. So this was all about project scheduling. Now what do you mean by project tracking? Now if we have developed a project schedule, it means we have a roadmap that we have to follow during the course of development, right? But are we following this roadmap? Are the activities which are designated to complete on a particular duration actually getting completed on that day or not? Tracking that thing is known as project tracking. How can we track the project? There are a number of ways or number of activities that we may perform for project tracking. The first being conduct periodic project status meeting. So the best thing is to consult with the people who are working on project, right? So the best thing for project tracking is meet the people who are working on project, conduct the meeting and take the status. The next is evaluate review results of software process. Now we know that there are periodic reviews done for quality of every process, including the project schedule, right? So there will be experts, reviewers of software quality assurance team who will review your project schedule. You can review the result from them. The next is determine if the formal project milestone have been accomplished or not. So you know that whenever you are developing a project, there are certain milestones that are to be accomplished. You can check the status of those milestones and you can check it against the project schedule. Are they matching or not, right? So the milestone, if it is likely to be completed in a particular duration, is it completed? and is it quality wise completed or not, that you can check. The next is you have to compare the actual start date to the planned start date for each task. For example, if I am in the middle of database design, right, and I know that after database design, code of design is to be commenced, right? So coding of design's start date, you have to check that what is the planned start date and are we going to actually start that coding on that date or not. So that duration, if you calculate, you can get an idea that are we lagging behind or are we ahead of the schedule, or are we exactly on time of the schedule, right? Also, you can conduct informal meetings. So the first one was you conduct the formal meeting. Then this is an informal meeting with the practitioner. It is very important, right? Because there is a possibility that person may not open in the formal atmosphere, but practitioner may have some concern which they are bothered, and if you as a project manager go to them informally and talk, it is a possibility you will get an idea of the project schedule, right? So these were the ways for project tracking and the techniques for project scheduling, and this was all about today's lecture.